Okay. Hello, my name is Robin Henderson, ROBINHENDERSON, Interim Chief of Police for the Austin Police Department. I'm joined here by members of the Austin Police Department Executive Staff, Office of Police Oversight, Ms. McCant, City Legal Representation, Basil Ali, in addition to our DPS partners. I'd like to open by saying that this investigation is preliminary in its stages. In addition, the details could change. However, I will go over a timeline of events as we know them at this time, and at the end, open it up for a few questions. At 7:55 p.m., APD received a 911 call that an intoxicated subject was threatening his wife and child with a gun here in the 9000 block of Northgate Boulevard. At 7:57 p.m., the first APD unit was assigned to the call and began responding. While APD officers were responding, additional information was received that the subject was holding his wife in one hand and a gun in the other. At 8:02 p.m., the first APD officer arrives on scene and begins to gather additional information. Officers were able to locate the apartment involved and began making call-outs, attempting to make contact with the suspect in both English and Spanish. At 8:34 p.m., the suspect from the balcony area presents a gun, and the officers begin giving verbal commands to the suspect, but the suspect then points the gun at the officers. Officers then deploy a less lethal option, as well as firing with their duty weapons at the suspect. At that time, the suspect then retreats back into the apartment, out of view of the officers. Officers worked to secure the area, and a SWAT response was requested. Before SWAT was able to arrive, officers had reason to believe a female and child were inside with the armed suspect and in danger. At 8:44 p.m., officers made entry into the apartment to rescue the female and child. As officers entered the apartment, the suspect began firing a gun at the officers, and the officers returned fire, striking the male. Officers then began providing commands to the male in order to safely detain him. The male did not comply and reached for the firearm again and pointed it at officers, at which time officers again fired upon the suspect. Officers were able to then safely remove the female and child from the apartment and began providing medical aid to the suspect until EMS arrived on scene. The male was then pronounced deceased on scene. The entire incident was captured on body-worn camera. There were 4 APD officers involved and 1 DPS trooper were involved. All APD officers have been placed on administrative duty, and there are 2 concurrent investigations that will take place. One will be an administrative investigation conducted by our internal affairs with oversight from the Office of Police Oversight. The second investigation is a criminal investigation conducted by our Special Investigations Unit in partnership with Texas DPS Rangers in consultation with the Travis County District Attorney's Office. Per APD policy, the body-worn camera will be released within 10 business days. As I stated from the onset, all of these details are preliminary and could change. However, I will open it up for a couple of questions.
How are the officers? Did the officers sustain any injuries?
No officer sustained any injuries in this incident.
And the victims weren't injured either? The hostages weren't injured?
Other than the male that was deceased, there's no injuries that were sustained by either the female or the child.
And then it wasn't SWAT that went in, it was the officers went in before SWAT got here?
That is correct. It was the officers that arrived on scene that made entry.
Last question.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.